guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to make a perfume bottle cake. It's a fairly simple shaped cake, a little bit different having a perfume bottle. I've started with a rectangular cake drum for this one, but you could go for round or square, it really is up to you. And I've just put a little bit of buttercream on my board ready for the cake to stick on. Now I coloured my buttercream with the colour mill, so in there I actually used some sugar and crumbs flavoured icing. I'll put links below to everything I've used, guys, so you can see it, but it's colour mill that I've used there for colouring it. So we've got our cake. So this one is a 7-inch round cake, and you can fill in between any layers with your buttercream. So the sugar and crumbs one I used is like a flavoured buttercream as well, but it comes in white, so that's why I wanted to add a bit of colour of it to myself. So I think rather than keeping the bottle completely rounded, we're going to change the shape. So we'll cut a little bit off the top and kind of have it so it slopes. Just keep wiping your knife if it's getting a bit clogged up with cake as well, guys. So it slopes up towards what will be the top. I've put it at an angle on my board as well. And I'm going to leave it just rounded at the bottom. So we've not done too much shaping with this at all. And we're going to cover the whole thing in buttercream. Now, guys, ideally you want to get a nice smooth layer, put the buttercream in the fridge for like 10-15 minutes till it's firmed up. Then you can go over with the second layer to get it nice and smooth. Now, this cake I actually did in a Facebook Live a while ago, and in the Facebook Lives I don't often get time to put them in the fridge. So really I should have spent longer sort of refrigerating it, getting that buttercream nice and firm. So it'll be easier for you guys if you can firm it up. But just smooth over the buttercream with a flexible smoother. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use some fondant. So I've mixed like white and blue together for a really nice pale colour. And we're just going to drape it over the cake, trying to push out any creases and wrinkles. Smoothing it gently, really pressing in at the bottom edge though. Just give it a quick smooth. And pressing in a little bit more on the bottom edge, this time using my Dresden tool just to make sure it really is in at that corner. If not, sometimes when I cut it, it ends up coming a bit high on the cake. So we'll just trim all this extra off. Now, my fondant's actually pretty thick on this one. I should have really gone thinner. Again, with it being a Facebook Live that originally this was done for, I'm usually in a bit more of a rush, so I didn't have time to roll it really thin. I'm going to use the pearlized dust, so it's an edible dust. I don't think it shows overly well on here on the video, but actually it had a really nice kind of almost mother of pearl effect. One's like a pink toned one and one's like a blue toned. Like so it's only slightly hinted with those colours. It doesn't show up overly well on here. Just wanted it to have more of a shine like a glass bottle would. And I'm going to paint some colour for like the perfume. And I'm going to use the edible food colours. I've diluted it a little bit with dipping solution. I'm just having a bit of a play around. Can you see on a scrap bit of fondant just to see what's going to work, how dark the colours are. So you can use the powdered colours or the liquid colours. As long as it's edible, it's fine. And we're going to paint some pink onto there. So try not to go too close to the very edge because we want it to look like it's a chunky glass bottle that it's in. So it would have a thick edge of glass. So I've painted it all in a solid colour. Then what I'm doing is trying to darken around like the very edge of the pink that I've put in. So you can go for different shades of pink. Mine's like a strawberry coloured powder one that I've got in the darker shades. And then bring it slightly lighter as it comes further in. And again, try and get some areas that are darker. And you want some bits that are really light that look like the light's kind of reflecting on it as well. So don't be worried about going dark and light in areas. If it helps, grab like a picture online of like a perfume bottle so you can see where the light would reflect and things. So to cover the board, I think we're going to go for a fabric effect. It's going to make it easy for us to kind of go around the shape of the bottle. So I'm rolling some fondant fairly thin. I've not worried too much about the shape of each piece of fondant because we're going to bend it and play around with it as we're putting it on the board so it looks fabricy. You'll have seen me do this before in some of my other videos as well, guys. Just trim any extra off from the edge. My knife's clogged up a bit with the icing, that's why it's kind of tearing rather than cutting through nice and sharply. So do make sure the knife is clean each time and the fondant does stick to it. So you're going to keep doing this all the way around till you've covered your board. And what I've done next is creating a bottom for the bottle. Now, I've done it in solid fondant, so it's quite a lot of fondant. If you guys want to put something in the middle of it, then you can do. I personally wouldn't eat a big chunk of fondant, but I wanted it for this effect on this cake. So just pushing it on. Try and have it so it does look flat at the bottom. You don't want it to kind of curve on the bottom of that bit. We're going to do the same now with a smaller sort of circle. The thicker it is, the more it's going to stand off the top. This is going to be like the perfume bottle lid. Done another one. The other one might be too big. We play around with the sizes for what you like as well. In fact, no, the smaller one's going to go on first. I'm just using water to stick it all together, guys, but you can use edible glue. And then that slightly larger one's going to go on top of the smaller one. Oops, sorry, I've made it a bit blurry for you guys. And then we're going to do a big ball on the top. Again, guys, you don't have to have solid fondant. With it being a Facebook Live, I was in a bit of a rush. I didn't have anything else prepped, so it was just quicker for me to roll the leftover fondant that I had from the bottle into like that kind of oval-ish shape. Like a ball that's flattened a bit to the top of that from a perfume bottle lid. So we're going to go a bit more metallic-y now to paint the lid of the perfume bottle. So my leftover pink is in the palette anyway, and I'm just going to mix some gold. So gold powder and the pink together, and it kind of gives me a rose gold. If you've got rose gold already, you can just use rose gold as it is. Or you might even just want to use gold. So I'm just going to cover that. It doesn't give me an overly even finish at first, but if you wait for it to dry and then give it a second layer, it should then start to look a little bit more even. So now let's give it a bow. So I've got pink fondant this time. I'm going to roll it out fairly thin, not as thin as you would if you were making flowers. And we're going to fold it over, put a bit of water in the middle where it's going to meet. So it's nice and sticky there. And let's push it together to create a bow. So just in that middle bit, kind of nipping it in there. And then we need a piece that's going to go over the centre of the bow so it looks a bit neater in that middle bit. Folding it over there like that. I'm not too worried about what it looks like at the back because it's not going to be seen. But do put water or edible glue on the back of there and you can press your bow in place. If it flops, you might want to put something underneath the bow just to hold it up a little bit, just while it's setting and drying, and then of course you can remove it then later. And at this stage I've finished covering the board. But you can finish covering the board earlier on if you prefer. You can also add sprinkles, extra little details around the board if you want. I just thought I'd give it a little bit more colour. So these sprinkles that I'm using I will tag below the video. I do have an online store, guys, so most of the stuff is sold in my online store anyway, but I thought it was easier to put your links to what I've used. These ones are full of chocolate in the middle as well, so they taste quite nice. So I'm still finishing covering that board. But the nice thing about the fabric effect is that if I don't do it all in one piece, it doesn't matter. Like I can kind of just patch bits on here and there and it still looks okay. And if you want any bits to look a little bit more highlighted, like the light shining on them, we can use like a white. So this is just a white edible dust that we've mixed with a bit of dipping solution, and we're going to highlight some areas so they stand out a bit more. And if you want to go darker anywhere, we can do the same but with black, but I've diluted it a lot, so there's not a lot of powder in this because I didn't want it really dark. It's just to add a bit of shadow in, but it's not very obvious, so dilute the powder down quite a bit so it's quite liquidy for this. And then anywhere else that you might want to put a highlight, I could have put one on the top of the bottle lid as well, but it didn't do. If you prefer, you can put dry powder on as well. You know, if you don't want to mix and paint with the dipping solution or clear alcohol, you can just brush it on with dry powder. So there it is, my little perfume bottle cake. I hope you've enjoyed the video, guys. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other videos. If you liked the video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button and leave me a comment below. You can see more of my tutorials by clicking on the images on screen now. If you haven't already, make sure you click the subscribe button to stay up to date with my future tutorials. There are also links in the description box below where you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and more.